Now that's original. Once upon a time.
I was just a kid when Papa taught me to drive in the Georgia mountains back in '55. He said, you got to learn these roads, boy, like the back of your hand, 'cause come whiskey time, you'll need to drive them like a man. Later on we walked to the barn at the setting of sun. He didn't have to tell me, I knew whiskey time had come. Said, I've got something for you. Then he opened up the door. I stood there staring at a 47 Ford. He said, it's got an ambulance motor, a supercharger too. Handle this car good and the law can't handle you. It's as black as sackcloth, so when you turn out the light, you'll lose the revenuers on them dark whiskey nights. At 2 in the morning, I was out on the road, bound for Atlanta with 100-gallon load. I pushed 300 horses down Georgia Highway 5 when a red light flashed behind me at the Cobb County line. A bolt of fear shot through me. I figured I was through. Then I remembered Papa, and I knew just what to do. I stomped to the floorboards, and down the road I flew. I handled that car good, and that's how I made it through. And he never saw it coming when I turned out the light. I lost that Georgia lawman on that dark whiskey night. But they told me the next morning where I'd made my last turn. The lawman lost sight of me and shot through the curb. Found him wrapped around a live oak in the early morning light. Because of my whiskey running, that lawman lost his life. no one could understand. The wreath of black flowers signed from the Ford sedan. And although they never caught me, still my troubled mind is haunted by the memory of that dark whiskey night. Dark Whiskey Night. What a great original song, and what a great story song. I may not post a story song this Saturday, just kind of have a lot going on, so we may try to kill two birds here with one stone, because this is an original song written by a friend of mine, buddy of mine, Josh Griggs, that you've seen on this channel, and his brother-in-law, Jeremy Locke, but it's also an excellent story song. So if we're not able to do another story song on Saturday, we'll say that this served two purposes. You know, an original song for Original Thursday, plus wrapping up the story song series for 2025. This song, I would describe it as historical fiction. I think it's very, very accurate. And in the description below, I'll put a link to an article on the website for Hot Rod Magazine. My brother and I, Steve, we used to have a subscription to Hot Rod when we were growing up and liked to read it. But if you follow that link, you'll see that all the details in this song are very accurate, right down to the use of ambulance motors, usually Cadillac ambulance motors that were put in those old Ford sedans. Now, the most popular vehicle for running moonshine appears to have been primarily the 40 Ford, which had a lot of cargo space and also good maneuverability and speed once you updated that flat V8 to something bigger and better like the Cadillac ambulance motor. Running moonshine, you know, it did happen. It's probably not as commonplace as kind of the stereotype of early Appalachia, or the early part of the 20th century in Appalachia. Josh and I were talking about it. He thinks that maybe he might have one relative or ancestor kind of in his past in North Georgia who engaged in some of that. Same thing, I think that I have maybe one ancestor that I'm told might have had a cursory involvement at least with running a moonshine still. But it's not real common. When Tipper started up her Celebrating Appalachia channel, and even prior to that when she started the Blind Pig blog, it was kind of funny. Some of the comments you could tell from folks outside of Appalachia seemed to think that running moonshine or making moonshine was very common, rather than it being just a small percentage of people who engaged in that. They thought it was, you know, kind of like everybody did it. Even today, which is funny. And of course, there is a reality TV show, I won't call its name. It's set a county or two over from us, and they portray it as if there are people still doing that, you know, running moonshine stills. But like most reality TV shows, it's completely fake and completely scripted. And I do have some friends of friends who have some involvement with that show, and so I know from them that yes, it's fake. And then just common sense would tell you that it's fake because they have TV cameras rolling. And if you were going to make moonshine in this day and time, you wouldn't do it out in the middle of the woods somewhere. You would probably, with all the technology that we have, you would do it in the confines of your own home or something like that. You wouldn't do it out in the woods. I'm not sure how old the song is. I know that pretty much around the time that I met Josh, the song had already been written. So I'm going to assume it's maybe 5 to 10 years old. I think it's a great song. You know, it has a really sort of dark, mysterious mood throughout. I also like the song because it doesn't glorify the practice of doing this. In fact, it shows, or rather it shows, some of the possible negative consequences of people getting hurt or worse. And the speaker in the song, clearly at the end of the song, is very remorseful about the role that he played in transporting or trafficking, alcohol. Now, you don't have to worry about Josh. You've seen Josh on here before. Not too long ago, he played this piano right here behind me, and he and Caleb Dykes performed a song that Josh's great-grandfather wrote, a gospel song, living in Canaan now. What I was saying about Josh, you don't have to worry about him. He's a teetotaler, just like I am. Josh shared with me that it's actually based on a true story that happened around Ellijay, Georgia, North Georgia. And there was a state trooper, and Josh and Jeremy, they changed some of the details so that it's not, just an exact retelling of what happened. But in the true event, it seems that there was a state trooper in this area who was from Texas, and he did, sure enough, lose his life chasing someone who was running a moonshine transport car. And as the story was told to them, or as was handed down or told to Josh, they sent the body of the state trooper who died tragically. They sent his body back to Texas, and someone wired there and had flowers sent to the service, and it was signed, from the Ford sedan. It was a little different than it is in the song, but pretty much that's what happened. It's just a great song, and if you enjoyed it, please let Jeremy and Josh know in the comments down below. I'll tell you a little bit about this guitar that I'm playing. This is called a Resonator guitar, and one of Pap's cousins, Betty Jean Jones, she has since passed on. Her husband owned this guitar, and when he passed away, Betty Jean wanted Pap to have it, and she gave it to him. Pap never played it. He kind of turned it over to me. This was somewhere around 15 years ago. I had to take a tetanus shot before I played it. You can see it's very tarnished. And when we first got it, I did clean it up. I ran a buffing wheel over it and tried different things. And it's a lot better than it was when we got it, but it's still pretty tarnished. Especially you can see where there once was a pick guard there, and it's even more tarnished underneath where the pick guard used to be. I think I might have that pick guard here somewhere. I'll have to look and see. It has a Hawaiian motif on the back. You can see some palm trees and a little maybe canoe in the water. So it's kind of a very interesting instrument. It's made by National, and they have made some great products, some great instruments historically. Joe Bonamassa, my favorite blues guy, I'll put a link in the description below of him playing a National Resonator guitar, very similar to this one. And there's a very cool story behind the one that he's playing. He played it in a concert at Carnegie Hall, and he had visited a young boy in the hospital. And I'm sure Joe brought him gifts and presents and memorabilia and things like that. But the little boy wanted to gift Joe with something, so he had his father go buy a guitar for Joe, and it's a National Resonator guitar, about the same size as this one, a different color, maybe some different material. But if you follow that link, you can see him play it in that Carnegie Hall concert. It sounds great, of course, partly because he's playing it. Now, I'll share with you concerning this one that when Pap first got it, I put strings on it, and it was terrible. I couldn't tune it. I couldn't play it. And I had put medium gauge Diodero strings on it, which is what I use on my Gibson Dove and my Taylor 710, and they work just great on those instruments. They did not work on this instrument. I thought this style of guitar would kind of add the right flavor for Josh and Jeremy's song, this kind of bootleg, mysterious, darker kind of mood song. So I thought, well, let me get that thing out and give it a try. Now, I think it sounds pretty good right now, and I think the reason why is I used these GHS Doyle Dykes signature model strings. That's what's on this guitar right now. And Doyle, there's a lot of science and engineering that has gone into these strings. They have a different diameter than most guitar strings, and and most of them are slightly smaller than your typical guitar string. That makes it very easy to bend them. I think it also probably makes them maybe tune a little bit better. Definitely easier to play, and I think it sounds great right now, this little guitar. Probably distorted the camera right there, but I'm going to keep these strings on there, and I bet this guitar would sound good with a slide, playing it with a slide, as Chris Isaac calls it, a glass finger that you slide on there. So I might experiment with that at some point. But if you have a guitar at home that is difficult to play or difficult to tune, you may want to try those GHS Dual Dykes signature model strings, because it just made a night and day difference on this guitar. It was pretty much unplayable before and untunable, but now plays fine. It's in tune. Yeah, no problems. I don't know how old this guitar is. I could not find a serial number. I did find a couple of patent numbers right here behind the bridge, and it says made in the USA. If I were guessing, I would say this guitar was probably made in the 50s or 60s, just by kind of the way it looks and based on who owned it. It has these older style plastic key tuning peg handles, whatever you want to call them, these little things. And a lot of times those will dry rot over time. These are still in pretty good shape. This one right here has a little play in it, but the rest of them are just fine. But I wanted to share about that guitar because I figured some of you might have been wondering, because you haven't seen it in any other video before. I want to mention that this coming Sunday, I will be making music with Caleb Dykes and Jamie Shook and Perry Stalkup. We're going to be performing at 2 different churches here locally. Now, I know most of you Acorns are not local, but we're going to play Sunday morning at 9:30 at Hickory Stand Church, which is in Brasstown, just down the road from me. I've never been there, so I'm interested in that, excited about that. And then after that, we're going on up the road to Hayesville, North Carolina, and we're playing at Oak Forest Church. Now, Oak Forest Church is a bigger church, and they live stream their church services on their website and on Facebook. So after that, I will try to do a little community post and share that link so you can go see how we did. I'm looking forward to it. We've been practicing, trying to get ready. And Perry Stalkup is an excellent bass player. Of course, Caleb is a phenomenal guitar player, and Jamie Shook is a great tenor singer. So I think we're going to do just fine. But I wanted to share that. I'm looking forward to it. And it's always good to have an opportunity to sing gospel songs and songs of praise for our Lord and Savior, because He has done more than we could ever understand, or definitely more than we could ever deserve. So it's going to be great to have an opportunity to try to lift Him up in those 2 church services. So I wanted to mention that, and like I say, I'll do that link once I have it as a community post here on the Blind Pig channel. I wanted to also share that next week I won't be doing an Old Timey Tuesday or an Original Thursday. I'm going to take a week off. Some of you may remember that a while back, my granny's brother, Uncle Lucky, was in the nursing home and not doing well, and he did pass. And it's been a while since he passed, but there were different things going on with his family, some health problems, and they live out of town, and there was bad weather and all that. So they're not going to have, they didn't have his funeral service, and they're going to have it on April 5th, which is not this weekend, but the next weekend. So all next week, the family has asked me to sing for his service, and they've requested 3 songs that I'm going to need to learn. So next week, I'll have to focus on that, and I won't be doing an Original Thursday or an Old Timey Tuesday. I'm going to take a week off. I apologize about that, but I will resume the week after. So I guess that would be maybe the 2nd week in April that we'll be back with Old Timey Tuesday and Original Thursday. Still don't know about this Saturday if we'll do another story song or if we'll let Josh and Jeremy's Dark Whiskey Night be our end to our story song and our original song for this week. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you second week in April.